Welcome to Conscious Talk, radio that makes a difference. Conscious Talk is brought to you in part by Clear, the company spelled with an X instead of a C, because they're the xylitol experts. And by Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics. Improve your digestive health naturally with Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics. And now I welcome your hosts for the day, Brenda Michaels and Rob Spears.
And happy Monday, everybody. Is everybody happy? Because that's the tone you get to set your week for, is waking up and saying, wow, this is a great new day and I'm happy today. So we welcome you and we hope that you are. Well, listen, we have a little bit of information we'd like to share with you this morning. There's going to be a guest coming to the East West Bookshop, one of our favorite bookshops here in Seattle. Her name is Julia Asante, and she's going to be talking about her book, The Last Frontier, Exploring the Afterlife and Transforming Our Fear of Death. And she is going to be there on Friday, January 11th. So that's coming up here this Friday, and it's going to be in the evening. So check with the bookshop's website. That's East West Bookstore. You can Bing them. I don't have their address right in front of me, but it is East West Bookshop, and her name is Julia Asante, and it is The Last Frontier, Exploring the Afterlife and Transforming Our Fear of Death. Should be very interesting.
If you're going to be on the east side that same evening, January 11th, 7 to 8 at Vitamin Life, it's nutrition, the flu, and common cold. That's what their free natural health lecture series will be covering. If you go to the conscioustalk.net event section, you can find out all about it and how to get involved. Folks, we love that they are supporting our community with this kind of series, so please support them and get 10% off on everything if you attend. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Conscious Talk, radio that makes a difference. Well, coming up this hour on Conscious Talk, well, one thing we've discovered over the years is that you never know where your purpose will take you. Our first guest, Veronica Torres, had various careers before becoming a channel for ELOHEIM and the Council. And then also stopping by is our second guest, Yogi Cameron Alberzian, who left the world of high fashion to take up the Ayurvedic and yogic path. And they're both coming up next right here on Conscious Talk. And I welcome your hosts for the day, Brenda Michaels and Rob Spears.
Thanks, Benny, and welcome, folks, to another hour of Conscious Talk, radio that makes a difference, where we're more than a radio show. Folks, we are a movement in consciousness, and it's our mission to help change the world one listener at a time. That's from the inside out, and that listener is you.
Well, as we said, Veronica Torres is a channel for ELOHEIM and the Council. It's always very interesting, this idea of channeling. But the Council is best known for their multitude of practical tools which facilitate movement from a fear-based existence as Homo sapiens to a consciousness-based living as Homo spiritus. And we're going to find out what that's all about because we have Veronica with us. Veronica, welcome to Conscious Talk.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on your program.
Well, we're delighted to have you here with us, Veronica. And I guess the first thing that we'd like to ask you, you've written 2 books, What Will Happen in 2012 and Beyond, and Discover You. And we know what happened in 2012, but maybe you can kind of give our audience a little bit of a preview of 2013. Is that possible?
Oh, of course. Yeah, ELOHEIM's been very excited in the channeling sessions we've had so far in January to sort of start us off in this new era where we don't have all these special dates hanging over our heads, the 11/11/11 and 12/12/12, and what's going to happen on those days instead of, today, like a Monday.
Yeah, there is no 13/13/13, is there?
There isn't. And, it's a relief, isn't it, to be like,
Yes.
okay, I can just deal with Monday, and it's okay for it to be Monday,
Yeah.
So Elohim is really teaching a lot about how 2013, especially the first part of 2013, is all about emanation. And it's funny because we're talking about this while we're on the radio, because that's one of the examples they give, is imagine if your inner dialogue were a radio station. Would anybody want to tune in, and would you want them to?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea being that we're responsible for our emanation, and we're responsible for what we're putting vibrationally into the world.
That's so interesting, because that's been a theme that we've been talking about for a number of years, in particular with Dr. Alan Rowland, who we have on once a month, where we always say the greatest gift, what we're looking to get to, is ourselves, because that's our greatest gift.
Mm-hmm.
Does that kind of follow with what you're talking about in emanation? I mean, I know in your book you talked about the difference between giving and why, giving and kind of emanating, and why they're so different.
Yeah, a lot of times people get into what we talk about as service mentality. And especially light workers, conscious people, have been kind of taught that you're here to serve others. And what energetically seems to be happening is people get busy serving others and they forget to take care of themselves, or they put themselves last on the list, or when they start to pay attention to their own growth, their own spiritual journey, what their own truths are, they start to feel they're selfish, and they feel bad about themselves for inquiring as to what their own truth is. So Elohim really concentrates on how to be responsible for your own personal journey while incorporating that with your family, with your job, with your day-to-day life. And that's the book Discovering You is really focused on that sort of place that people get to where they say, man, I really want to look at my own spiritual development, my own personal development, but how do I do that as a mom? How do I do that as a wife? How do I do that as a person with a job? How do I find that time and that energy and that make it okay for myself to really think about myself first for the first time in my life, maybe? Mm-hmm. So that's and then that inquiry into what is my truth feeds what you emanate into the world. So instead of your emanation into the world being, I'm overwhelmed, I can't take care of my responsibilities, I feel this, I feel that, it's, this is my truth in this moment. And that's your gift to the world. You give from the abundance of being in your truth rather than giving from, oh, that's all I have left, but you get it because I have to be of service to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's such a great, powerful, and profound distinction that you're making here for all of us, Veronica, about emanating as opposed to giving our power away, giving it all away. And I think as women, we have been notoriously the ones that have done that to the nth degree, and even a lot of males do that, but particularly females. Well, explain to us how you got into channeling and what that process really is about for you. I know a lot of our audience is familiar, but we always have new listeners, and you never know, someone might not be familiar with what channeling really entails.
Sure. Channeling is the process whereby I'm able to set my personality aside to allow my guides, non-physical guides, to use my body, primarily my vocal cords, to share their teachings, to share their wisdom, and to answer people's questions. And I got into it because, it's a funny story, it was predicted that I would become a channel. I was at this psychic with a psychic reading kind of thing, and the guy said, you're going to become a channel. And I said, I just came to you to get help with my marriage. I wasn't trying to get like a life path. And I really wasn't interested. Again, like we talked about it a minute ago, I was too busy sort of taking care of everybody else to even think about this man saying, by the way, you're going to have this whole lifetime career. And I'm like, I just want to get along with my husband. Isn't that just the thing we're talking about? And so some years went by, And then I had moved to a new town, and I got together with some ladies that I didn't know, but I had just met in yoga class, and we were doing a Lakshmi Puja. Your listeners may not be familiar with that. Basically, it's a chant, and I think Sanskrit. I don't even know. I've never done one again. But we were doing this chant, and I'm reading the thing. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm happy to have new friends, right? And all of a sudden, I got into this completely altered state, and I started speaking with another voice and talking to people that I didn't know like I knew them. And at the end of it, the voice said, "We are the Elohim, and we are pleased to have been with you today." Upon which time I promptly burst into tears and said, "That's never going to happen again." Because I felt, get this, I felt conspicuous. Not because I was afraid, not because I thought the material was bad or good, because I felt conspicuous. That's why I didn't want to do it again.
Yeah.
So again, more years went by, and then I opened to it willingly, and that's been 10 years now that I've been offering this channeling material to the public. I have a weekly broadcast, and we've been doing it for 10 years, every week.
We have been so interested in your material and many people in this process because 2012 was this focus, and a lot of the focus in the major media, of course, was with the end of the world stuff and all of that drama and speculation. But what we have realized and what we've been talking about on the show is that this is a shift in consciousness, and you refer to it as moving from Homo sapien to Homo spiritus. Can you shine a little light on that approach, as it were?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Homo sapiens is a fear-based operating system, is how Elohim talks about it. Basically, you look at the world and your survival instinct says, be afraid, oh, be afraid of that, oh, be afraid of that, oh, be afraid of that. And it's how you navigate all those fears. Either you become a shut-in or you do the speech anyway, but you do it with butterflies in your stomach. Almost everything presents a reason to be afraid of it because you're trying to stay alive. Your survival instinct is primal. It's trying to stay alive. And so it's keeping track of everything that could kill you, which is, just about anything, if we're all honest.
Yeah.
So that sort of, what do they say? So many accidents happen in the bathroom. You're like, wait, I just need to go to the bathroom. Don't freak me out, right? So when you're coming from the Homo sapiens point of view, that survival instinct can really be in charge, and it can tell you how to live your life. And it can keep you from doing things like going on trips or flying on an airplane or, asking somebody out on a date because it's all too scary. And Elohim says as we start to live consciously, as we start to know why we do what we do, which is living consciously, we approach the world in such a different way that it actually causes physical evolution. And that's why they say it's not just a name, Homo spiritus. It's actually an acknowledgement of physical evolution because you're using such different parts of your brain instead of habitually using the hamster wheel mind and always thinking that same thought. You're saying, no, I'm going to actually in this moment choose a different thought, choose a different thinking pattern. And Elohim and the Council, I actually have 13 books, and a lot of them talk about all these tools that Elohim has given us to support using this different part of your brain to.
Well, hold that thought because we are here with Veronica Torres. We're talking about her books and her channeling of Elohim, and we'll be right back.
Keeping our bones strong and healthy becomes more of a challenge as we age, especially for women. This is Dr. Natalie Engelbart, scientific advisor for Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics. Research has proven that adding a probiotic supplement to your diet will fortify and strengthen bones, making them less likely to break. A clinical study done exclusively on Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics found that women and men who took Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics for at least 8 weeks had significantly increased bone density. The calcium we consume through milk and supplements is not always absorbed or used to build bone. In fact, without a healthy probiotic population in the gut, calcium can pass right through undigested. The nice thing about probiotics is that they are part of the original plan. They are supposed to be in the intestinal tract. As a doctor, I worry about depending on drugs that harden bone by slowing the normal remodeling process. But I can't think of a good reason not to have better digestion at any age.
Discover the Dr. Ohhira difference. Dr. Ohhira's probiotics are available at Super Supplements, Whole Foods, Marlene's, and other fine health food stores nationwide.
Clear nasal products have a new look and a new name. This fall and winter, you will see the same trusted Clear nasal care products at your favorite retailers. But instead of being called Clear nasal spray and Clear neti pot, you will see our nasal care products now under the Clear sinus care name in white boxes with bright green labeling. All of us at Clear are dedicated to natural alternatives for nasal and sinus health for both adults and children. For more than a decade, Clear has been featuring xylitol-based products which are designed to aid in the relief of irritation caused by airborne contaminants. Clear sinus care products are easy to use, effective, and safe for people of all ages. Clear sinus care is simply your best defense in an increasingly polluted world. To learn more about our new products or to find a retailer near you, visit Xlear.com. That's Xlear.com. Clear is available at fine health stores nationwide.
You're listening to Conscious Talk, radio for where we go from here.
There's a new and exciting blood test that's even more accurate than cholesterol and blood pressure measurements in predicting cardiovascular risk. It's called the blood viscosity test, and it's a direct measure of the thickness and stickiness of blood. Why is that important? Thick, sticky blood means your heart has to work harder to pump blood, and that means less oxygen and nutrients delivered to your body. High blood viscosity is also abrasive and causes damage to the lining of arteries, and that can spell trouble. If you have a personal or family history of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol, knowing your blood viscosity can be a lifesaver. A study of over 1,500 adults showed that blood viscosity is an accurate predictor of cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes. Schedule an appointment at Tahoma Clinic in Renton to get your complete blood viscosity profile. To find out if you have thick blood, call 425-264-0059 or visit TahomaClinic.com.
Many factors contribute to how fast we age, including our genes, hormone levels, diet and exercise patterns, as well as alcohol and tobacco use. One other very important factor is hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is abundant at birth, but it fades as we age. Hyaluronic acid is an important hydrating agent for tissue and is found in your joint synovial fluid, the eye's vitreous fluid, and your skin. It's an antioxidant that may also help protect the skin from the detrimental effects of excessive exposure to sunlight. Best Hyaluronic Acid from Doctor's Best is a highly bioavailable source of type 2 collagen, hyaluronic acid, and chondroitin sulfate, all of which are essential to maintain skin suppleness and elasticity. So if you're interested in starting a long-term skin health regimen, remember to ask for the best. Best Hyaluronic Acid from Doctor's Best, because you deserve it.
Some people know a good thing when they hear it. Alternative Talk, 1150 a.m.
And welcome back to Conscious Talk Radio that makes a difference. We're making a difference this morning talking to a very interesting woman, Veronica Torres. She has channeled I gather, Veronica, 13 books from ELOHEIM and the Council. And it's been a very interesting trip for you, I'm sure, because you have been bringing forth tools that seem so simple but really have great significance in the lives of people in moving from Homo sapien stage to Homo spiritus.
You know, one of the things that we've noticed, Veronica, with a lot of people is that when we are given the opportunity to choose, to make our choices, to empower ourselves to choose how we think and how we want to feel and to make choices from our truth, there's that responsibility seems to scare a lot of people. What can you say to our audience to help remove some of that fear? Because being free to speak your truth and being free to make choices is a wonderful feeling. So what are we so afraid of, and what can you say to help?
Well, Elohim, I love what Elohim says. They say, The choice for consciousness is challenging, but habitual response is a pit of pain that never changes. You know, and the idea here is that if your life stays the same, and if the things that are staying the same are causing you habitual suffering, is what Elohim calls it, habitual suffering, then to make the change, to react differently, to break habits, may be difficult. But if you don't do that, nothing will ever shift, and you'll continue down that path of discomfort. And that getting over the hump of doing something new, that moment of challenge of doing something new, then abates into transformed life where you get to actually live from a state that's less suffering and that becomes less and less and less suffering. So that I don't want to change thing is really deeply rooted in the survival instinct, and we talked about that in the earlier segment. The survival instinct says, don't change because what you're doing now, although you may not like it, it hasn't killed you. And if you change, who knows, you know? And so when you make a change, you're also going past that survival instinct saying, it's not safe, it's not safe.
Yeah.
And the survival instinct will tell you everything's not safe, so that's where you have to learn to not have that relationship.
Yeah. So do you know that you're there when you can say, so what are they going to do, kill me?
Well, I think that the energy behind what you're saying is true, and I think a lot of times what we have to remind ourselves of is you'll think, oh, I don't know, I just don't know if I could possibly get on an airplane, and it's like, okay, let's look at it right now. You know, let's look at it practically. Look at it with statistics and ask yourself, is this fear of doing something new a better way to live than taking the chance that, you might be the one in bazillion airplanes that crashes, but you're most likely, very, very most likely, going to get to have this experience you've always wanted to have. You're going to get to go see your grandkids. You're going to get to go visit a friend that you haven't seen in 25 years. And kind of asking yourself, am I really in danger right now? You know, sometimes people feel so afraid, and Elohim will say, is there a gun to your head? Is there a knife to your neck? And they're like, well, of course not. Then is that fear of getting dead actually legitimate in this moment, or is it just habitual to interpret that stimulus as not just I'm uncomfortable, but I am in danger, when maybe you're just sitting on your bed? Literally, people have called, we do private sessions, and people will say, I'm so afraid to even contemplate this change. And Elohim will say, where are you? And they'll say, I'm on my couch. Is there anyone in the house with you? No. So you're not actually in danger right now. You're just remembering or finding a reason to be afraid. Let's talk about changing that relationship. That's that whole Homo sapiens, Homo spiritus thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Changing the relationship to the survival instinct.
Right.
Long-habited patterns create this reality, which is not reality. And that's been the very big theme. Our reality is something so much greater, varied, and a lot more fun if we pass on those habits. And one of the things, Veronica, in healing, getting to those patterns really does make a physiological change, releasing them. Our thoughts, our emotions have physiological consequences. And this is like one of the most powerful things. So it was so great to read your channeled information, because they spend a lot of time talking about this.
Yeah. So one of the things that Elohim and the Council are most known for is all the tools that they give, the very practical tools. And I think one that we could leave your listeners with that they would enjoy is the candle and the wax tool. The idea here is that a lit candle can light lots of other candles. Plus, a lit candle set on a table illuminates the room. And that's who we are. We're that lit candle. And we can share our flame, we can share our emanation, but nobody gets our wax. And when you start giving away your wax, you decrease the amount of sharing and illumination you can give. So you never give away your wax. And that's an interesting question people can ask themselves. When I do this for this other person, am I giving them my illumination, my emanation? Am I sharing my flame, my abundance, my passions? Or am I giving them my wax? Do I have enough to fuel my life if I do this for that person? or if I think that I need to do this for this community or this group. Because that's a choice, right?
Yes, and I love that that's pointed out so strongly in your books and in your channelings, because we typically do this so easily, and then we're fatigued and we don't understand why we don't have the energy. We don't even concentrate on the things that we want for ourselves most of the times because we're so busy doing for everyone else. Well, one of the questions I'd like to ask is, with this energy now, this new energy, this shift we're involved in on the planet, is everyone going to the Homo Spiritus place in their life, whether they go kicking and screaming or whether they know it or not? Is eventually everyone going there now with this new energy?
I think that what it is it's a choice for consciousness, it's a choice for different behaviors, and not everybody makes that choice. That said, if you've got 30 people in a room and all of them are angry, it's going to be really difficult for the 31st person not to feel angry. And if you've got 30 people in a room that are all being conscious, then it's much, much easier for the 31st person to become conscious. So the kicking and screaming thing is sometimes, in my opinion, more like the 100th monkey thing. Mm-hmm. Where if you're not even interested in consciousness, but all of a sudden you notice every time you go to the bank, everybody's friendly and everybody at the grocery store is acting different than they used to act, it's easy for you to change, even if you don't maybe read every book or listen to every radio program that the people at the beginning of the movement did.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in the room of 30 people and you're the one conscious person, that's harder than being the 31st conscious person.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
We
know. We've had this.
To the choir.
We've had this.
Are you talking family?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. If there wasn't dysfunction, there wouldn't be any function at all. Is the old rule, but now that's changed. We've been looking at it from the point of view of the energy that's available now. Mm-hmm. And that's really what's supporting us. So I love that example of how the 100th monkey works. But if you are emanating this shift in yourself, other people will pick up on it. That's your gift. Mm-hmm. That's your song to sing, as it were. And you have these very, really wonderful self-awareness tools in your book. One of them being, I think, extremely important, where you say, I'm tempted to.
Oh, yeah.
You shift how you look at the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of reacting, if someone, let's just pick something a little extreme, someone rear-ends you on your car and you are angry, if you can just insert in there, I'm tempted to be angry, you're using a different part of your brain than if you habituate to anger. And, when you habituate to anger, you're going to connect to all the other times you were angry in your brain, in your biological system. But if you just make the small change of saying, I'm tempted to be angry, you have to use a different part of your brain. And you don't have a reservoir of other times you were tempted to be angry to fall into, like you would if you just went straight to I'm angry. That's an exaggerated example, but, if you spill something on the floor and you think, God, I suck so bad, you can say, wow, I'm really tempted to think I suck right now.
Mm-hmm.
It changes the energy so radically, and it literally uses a different part of your brain. So, that's one tool can.
Absolutely. And, those sound so simple, Veronica, but we know, Rob and I know, when you interrupt that brain pattern, just that interruption changes everything. Mm-hmm. And that's why the simple tools are so powerful and profound, because they create that little disconnect in that pattern, which when you do that often enough, pretty soon a new pattern develops, one where you get to make the choice how you respond, responsibly, how you respond as opposed to how you react. Well, folks, we want to let you know that Victoria channels ELOHEIM and the Council, and she's got many books out there. The website is ELOHEIM.com, ELOHEIM.com. That's ELOHEIM.com. You can hear Veronica. You can get her books. Veronica, we just want to thank you for coming today and being a part of our consciousness and helping us with our passion, which is to help people and assist them in their waking up process.
I really enjoyed my time, Brenda and Rob. Thank you so much for having me on the program.
You betcha. And folks, take a moment, take a breath, and we'll be right back.